All right, we're here today, Brave Man Podcast. I want to thank everybody for watching. This is my friend, my amazing friend, Kurt Bonner, aka the real Kurt B. He is a wonderful inspiration in my life, and if you listen, he'll be a wonderful inspiration in yours as well. So here we have Kurt. Kurt, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. First of all, Matt, thanks for having me on the show, man. Excited to be here and just chit chat about some of the stuff that we have on the books here. Um, my name is Kurt Bonner. I am a mortgage lender turned from physical therapist. It has been quite the interesting journey, but we'll get into some of that stuff. I've got a beautiful wife, two awesome kids, and man, I'm a blessed man of God. So I got to say, I can't complain too much over here, my man.
Well, listen, Kurt, I was telling you the other day, Kurt is a entrepreneur and he is a very, very business-minded man. And there's something that he has that most of us don't, and it's where the mindset of entrepreneurship and everyday life connects. That most of us, it's kind of two different worlds, and Kurt just can connect those so well. So, Kurt, I'm going to ask you first off what you think about your mindset and just the mindset of an entrepreneur and how others can have that same kind of mindset.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the compliment because I will tell you I don't feel like that most of the time. It feels like very much everything's disconnected. Right before we hopped on this one, I started singing a random jingle, and Matt's like, "Where in the world did that come from?" And I was like, "Bro, don't know. It's the voices in my head that just keep going." Um, so connecting kind of the entrepreneur mindset into daily life, one of the things that I really have to establish myself because I have what I refer to as shiny object syndrome. Man, I can jump from one thing to another, and it drives my wife absolutely bonkers because I get excited for it and I go like all in on it, and then I jump to the next thing. And being that type of personality, right, it is really important to understand like you have to find a rhythm, you have to find a way to control that. There is a benefit to that side, but there is also a downfall to that side. And I will say it's typically a pretty addictive behavior, if you will, which is not healthy. So that's one of those things that you want to keep in mind is knowing your personality and who you are as an individual defines a lot of how you can transform and set up your mindset for success. You were created as an individual. God gave me the gift of being like this, right? That means I have to learn to use what God's empowered me with to use it to benefit others and use it to benefit myself and my family, right? And more importantly, benefit God because God wants to use that. Coming to terms with that can be really tough because that typically means there's a lot of failures involved with it. So understanding that there's a bigger purpose has helped me significantly with that. And knowing that balance has a big role in that too of, hey, work, business, being an entrepreneur, going down that venture is one thing, but also creating, hey, who are the most important people in my life, my wife and my kids? How can I be a better husband, be a better father? That will ultimately transition into doing a better job at work or in a business. And I think that's a super, super important value is you have to find a way to balance the two mentally because when you put them together, man, it's so, so powerful. And when you're true to yourself and honest and transparent, people see that. People see that.
And yeah, you're right. We were talking about that in our last podcast. If this is something that you're not just doing, you feel if there is some purpose behind it.
Hmm.
You're not just some guy doing it. This is
Yeah.
what you're meant for. Do
Yeah.
it. Live it. Believe that you can, and you will see some amazing results when you really believe in yourself.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Kurt. One thing I want to talk about, because this is something that you challenged me on, um, is your ability to take a situation like mine, doing YouTube, and me immediately saying, I don't have the time for this, or I'm
Yeah.
struggling with this, and you break down the answers. You're like, okay, well, here's step one, here's step two. And you'll ask questions like, well, why don't you have time?
Yeah.
Do you have any time in your day? So you do wake up early in the morning. What's that look like? And you challenge me on a lot of things. This is what I want you to answer.
Yeah.
What is it? What have you made your day look like so that you can be in control of your day?
Yeah, I think that's super valuable for questioning, and it's again because I've had the right people ask me those same questions. I'm a firm believer in time blocking, right? And sticking to that. Sometimes there has to be adjustments, but when we're trying to wake up in the morning and try to figure out what to do next and where we go and all of this, that, and the other, right? That determines your day. Every successful person I've ever met, read a book on, or really just have heard about, one thing they were consistent on is they had a routine that they did every single morning to get them prepped for the rest of their day.
Mm.
Um, Again, time is money is what a lot of people view that as. And if we're going to make more money, but and more importantly, make a bigger impact on somebody's life, you have to manage your time better so that you can. I mean, something that I struggle with a lot is okay, I know I do better and feel better when I go exercise, right? If I don't time block that, I feel worse that day already, right? Um, when I wake up in the morning, my typical routine right now has been I wake up around it's been 6:45 and I'll get to this in a second because it looks like I'm going to probably make that earlier because I had one of my most effective days here recently. And I'll explain that in a second. But I was waking up at 6:45, helping getting the kids ready to head off to school, and then I was going and working out in the gym for an hour, half hour to an hour, and then off to my day as a mortgage lender, right? And again, periodically blocking things, blocking stuff for podcasts and doing stuff like that too. But and then once 5 o'clock hit, it's family time. Work's done. We're focusing on making sure I'm spending quality time with my crew, right? 5 to 8 o'clock, I've got a time blocked. And some people look and they're like, wow, so that they only get your attention from 5 to 8. And I'm like, no, that is when they get all of my attention. That's what I'm aiming for. Because again, I'm still human and I still mess up. But what I know is when I say, hey, 5 to 8 is my family time, that means my kids, my wife see dad, see husband during that time frame away and outside of working Kurt, working on whatever projects it might be. So I want to just be super diligent. And again, it's hard. It's hard to do that, but the more consistent you are with it, the more helpful that is. What I've noticed is for me right now, I had a great productive day. I got to go do a donuts and dad with my son and at his school, and it was awesome, dude. And then I went and started making my calls and was super productive this morning. Right afterwards, I missed out on my exercise though, and I'm feeling that. And so I was like, shoot, man, like, what do I need to do? Well, now I know I need to reprioritize my day, and I'm going to do it later in the day. However, that typically means I need to work out a little bit earlier. And again, I didn't say this, but the most important thing I start my day with is reading my Bible. I don't know how in the world I forgot that because without doing that every morning, I'd be going absolutely crazy. And that's been super consistent. And again, it just gives that extra positive light in my day to get me going. So
How important is it that a man have something in his life, not only that he is productive in, something he's providing in as well?
you know this very well, but that topic is so powerful because as a man, eh, when we look at the essence of what does that mean? And again, I want to state like just from the beginning that does not neglect anything related to a woman, right?
Right.
I couldn't do anything that I do without having my wife right by my side. And when I
Absolutely.
say by my side, typically she's pulling me along to help encourage me, right? Her strength provides me the ability to do what I love doing. We as men typically get this just enormous pressure, right? To be successful, to fill our destiny, to be able to do something great. I don't know a single man that in the back of his mind, if you really talk to somebody that doesn't go, man, I really want to do something great someday, even if they're sitting on the couch at home, right? And in the back of their mind, they want to be wild at heart, right? Great book, by the
Mm.
way. They want to be able to do something, to be somebody. They want to be able to save someone. And it's a very powerful thing, but I will also say it's a really dangerous thing. Matt, I'm a huge fan of understanding what your why is. Because as a man, when you focus on something so hard, you get into this space, this mindset like, if I don't complete this, then I can be a failure, right? I went through a couple years, just being completely transparent here. I went through a couple years, and again, still going through it, where for me as an individual, I put this enormous pressure on myself that I had to be successful. I had to make sure that my family would never have to worry about finances again, that my family would be successful in every route, that I would be looked at as like, oh, this elite level of person. And I remember the exact moment that that mindset changed for me, and it was when I got a call because my son had open heart surgery. And as I'm actually working out at that time to try to take my mind off of some of the things going on in that moment, the call was an individual letting me know pretty much like, hey, and again, it wasn't stated quite like this, but this is how I heard it. You have to choose between being with your son or showing up to work on Monday. That absolutely wrecked me as a man, as a husband, as a father, because I felt torn. Do I provide for my family? Do I be present with my family? And I questioned God a lot on that because I was like, God, what am I doing wrong? What did I do to deserve this? I started saying me, 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 right? Which is never the right look. And what ended up happening is I went absolutely crazy with trying to be successful. I wanted people to look at Kurt and be like, wow, this guy knows what's up. And what that did to me, man, it tore me down. I hit a point where I was pushing so hard. It was starting to tear me apart. It was starting to tear my family apart. And again, I wasn't looking at God at all in that situation. I was so focused on forcing control. I had a problem, an addiction to control. And that led to me getting suicidal. And that's a heavy topic in general. But I think it's important to share because I have learned there are so many people who are dealing with that. And I want you to know you're not alone. And something I also want to encourage you is tell that to somebody, right? If you've got to reach out to me, tell me because being able to get through that is so important because you are valuable. You are worth it. And guess what? God has a plan for you. Going through that has allowed me to see more of my purpose, what God wants for me. And my why is not only being able to be present with my wife and my kids, being able to love on them and show them Jesus, and hopefully, they get to experience Jesus, right? But also to love on everybody that I come encounter with, to hopefully they get to see Jesus through me. And I'm not perfect by any means. Like everybody hear that. I am not perfect. I make mistakes just like anybody else. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you the truth of who I am, right? And I want you to see that vulnerability of knowing that I've made mistakes and I continue to make them, man, because I want you to see Jesus hopefully through me. And Matt, I'll tell you this again. You already knew all of this, but that understanding and being willing to be transparent in that took me a couple years to get to, but allowed me to really understand there is more than just money.
Mm.
There is more than just time, right? There's something greater. There's something greater. And in my case, I say that's Jesus, baby.
Kurt, thank you for being vulnerable in that. That is not easy to say. We were talking in our last podcast about authenticity, and that
Mhm.
is truly what makes people different from others. It's being themselves and saying the things that they've been through. And experience really is often the greatest teacher, not just for themselves, but it's the greatest teacher for those
Yeah.
who are experiencing something in life and don't know the answers.
Yes,
So
sir.
you being able to speak that is huge. Um, and I love how you said money's not, it's not all, and providing is so much more than putting a roof over somebody's head. It's also being the man that you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I'll preach that to the day I die, that your purpose in life is for others, not for yourself.
This phrase has been in my head these last couple weeks specifically. And as I've been talking to a lot of people about this subject, and I like to remind people, you can't take money to a grave, right?
Mm,
You can't take money to a grave. You can't take things to the grave, but you can take a soul, baby, because you can take them with you to
mm,
heaven. And man, that's powerful.
mm. Well, Kurt, you answered a lot of my questions. And in that one statement, man, I thank you for your vulnerability. And you answered quite a few questions just with that.
Yeah.
Um, I think young men, especially, need to know that you can go through those hard things. And you need to know it's part of who you are,
Yeah.
it's part of your purpose. It
Yeah.
is actually, it's not just a bad thing for you. It's a lesson, not just for you, but a lesson that you're going to teach others who need it. And that's why I say your purpose is not you, it's others.
Yes.
So your experiences aren't just for you, they're for those who you can help. And that's really where I wanted to get with that, Kurt. So I thank you for being vulnerable in that. So we went through a few things, and Kurt, your mindset is just unbelievable. And I know that you say that it's not, it's everywhere. But what I see in you is something that I look up to oftentimes. And when I'm thinking of things I want to do with my own business, I think, what would Kurt do? And you've been that way. I remember our drive down to Kentucky that one time,
Yes.
and you were explaining what was my why. I think about that all the time. Um, I thank you for that. I thank you for your authenticity. Is there any closing remarks that you would like to make um, in any of that?
Yeah, I think I just want people to understand, all men out there specifically, young men obviously a big part of that. Just because money's not everything doesn't mean you can't be successful. But what I would encourage is when you understand truly what your why is. If money's the answer, it's not the answer, right? When you actually break it down, right? You can be a tool to be able to help other people. I encourage people, when you look to bless someone else, when you look to serve, it typically comes back tenfold, but you have to do it authentically. You have to say, I am willing to be a servant here, right? If we go back to Jesus, man, what did he do first? He served every single time, baby. And doing so, people saw love, and man, people said, I want to follow that. As a man, if you're going to be a great leader, you got to learn to serve first. And while you are leading, you should still be serving, because what that does for everybody around you is helps them see it's not just about me. This is about us. There's so much more here than just me. There's so much more than what I can make. Because guess what? At the end of the day, man, you get 100,000 people in a room, way more powerful than one.
Well, we have Kurt, the real Kurt B, Kurt Bonner, my friend, an amazing person and an amazing content creator. If you haven't followed him, if you would, I would love for you to follow him on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Is there any others that you're using right now?
Not right now, my man.
All right, follow him. He subscribe to him, like his videos. If you have questions, he is a very honest person and he would probably answer them. So contact him, leave him a comment, boost up his analytics, and we thank you for watching. Kurt, thank you so much for being here.
Hey,
I
thanks,
enjoyed
Matt,
it.
for having me, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.